Murder in the morning from the Hidden Killers podcast.
Well, Alec Baldwin doesn't want to face the trial that he's going to be facing for the Rust shooting. His legal team is seeking a dismissal of the manslaughter case, according to prosecutors. Defense alleges violations of procedural rules and unfair practices in handling the Rust shooting case. Alec Baldwin's legal team has launched a fervent bid to dismiss the manslaughter case against him, asserting that prosecutors engaged in severe misconduct during the grand jury proceedings. So they're going on a technicality, it sounds like. In a motion filed Thursday, Baldwin's attorneys accused prosecutors of a litany of transgressions, including leaking information to the media, withholding crucial evidence, and providing a flawed jury instruction, all of which they argue have unfairly prejudiced the jurors or the case against the actor. According to Baldwin's lawyers, the prosecution's actions constitute an egregious abuse of the legal system and a gross violation of Baldwin's rights. In a statement, they asserted, "Enough is enough. This is an abuse of the system, an abuse of an innocent person whose rights have been tampered to the extreme."
So, and let me ask you a question. Is it ever, does a judge ever look back and go, you know, the person wrote me a letter and said enough is enough, and I think they're right. We're just going to dismiss this.
Enough is enough. That's usually how to get it done. Just the enough is enough letter.
I do want to ask, flawed jury instruction. Do we not have like a laminated piece of paper that everybody reads the jury instructions from? Because haven't we been hearing an awful lot about this lately?
Well, jury instructions are very specific for each and every case.
I get that, but why are we screwing this up so often?
Well, I don't think it literally is being screwed up so often. It's more so they're just trying to make that argument and see if it sticks.
Interesting.
Because when you have nothing else to do or nothing else to argue, you go for technicalities. I mean, that's what's going on with Kohberger. That's what's going on with Alec Murdaugh. That's what goes on with so many cases. If your merits of your case suck, well, you got to somehow find some technicality that was violated that gets you off. I mean, that's how Bill Cosby is free. So it happens.
Is he free? Is he out?
Yeah, he's out selling Jell-O pudding pops. He's, yeah.
No.
It's a really weird take on it these days, but apparently there's something that really is in those pudding pops that, yeah, it's weird. No, the Jell-O pudding pops are gone. But no, it's, yeah, he's out.
I'm looking up right. Yeah, he's a free man as of 21.
Yeah.
I thought he was still in jail.
No, he's free now.
He's blind though, right? He lost his vision.
I don't know how blind he is, but he's quite blind. I think there might be some level of seeing. I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh, speaking of which, he plans to set the record straight on his sexual assault conviction in a new memoir. So I'll see if I can get him.
You know, he actually calls into some radio stations every now and then. There's some very conservative talk hosts that are like on the side of Bill Cosby because, well, those talk hosts are probably also rapists. But they seem to like have a lot of empathy for him, and he likes those folks.
Why? Why would you? Ugh, yuck.
Yeah.
Just gross.
I know. The case and here stems from the tragic incident on the set of Rust, which cinematographer Helena Hutchins was fatally shot and director Joel Souza was seriously injured. Baldwin, who was holding the firearm, insists he did not pull the trigger and was unaware that the gun contained live ammunition. Baldwin's defense team argues that the prosecution failed to present witnesses to the grand jury who could testify that it was not the actor's responsibility to inspect the gun before the scene. They also allege that the prosecution heavily relied on biased expert testimony, ignoring evidence that could exonerate Baldwin. Furthermore, Baldwin's attorneys accuse the prosecution of engaging in malicious conduct with the apparent aim of securing an indictment against the actor regardless of the truth. They cited instances of a prosecutor being quoted anonymously in the media indicating the desire to humble Baldwin and turn the case into a teachable moment. The defense intends to focus on arguments on the condition of the gun at the time of the shooting, alleging that it had been tampered with to make it easier to discharge accidentally. They assert that the evidence showing signs of tampering was not presented to the grand jury. Additionally, Baldwin's legal team has contested the jury instruction on involuntary manslaughter, arguing that the standard set by the courts is too vague and insufficiently protective of Baldwin's rights. They sought a higher burden of proof, requiring prosecutors to demonstrate Baldwin's subjective knowledge of the risk posed by the firearm. In contrast, the prosecution maintains that the gun was in working order and that Baldwin's actions constitute criminal negligence. However, the defense contends that the armorer on set, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who was convicted of involuntary manslaughter for loading the live round into Baldwin's gun, received a lenient verdict due to the flawed jury instructions. Baldwin's trial is set to start on July 9th. This is such a weird case. Like, somehow live rounds got onto the set. Whoever brought the live rounds onto the set is who should be criminally responsible. She was not a qualified armorer. Everybody does have to start somewhere, so why not a low-budget Alec Baldwin Western? I can't think of really, here's a better, like this does seem kind of like a place someone would start their career if that's what they're doing. But with that sort of responsibility does come, consequences if you are not going to, I guess, follow through on the actions that you should be to protect the actors on that set. So, should she have been found guilty? I don't know. I think there should be some sort of punishment, but I think she'll do it and then, move on with life. It's not that long of a sentence. Baldwin, I don't know. I mean, I one of the things that was said to me was, if you were an actor on the set, would you take that gun, put it to your head, and pull the trigger without making sure that that thing did not have a live round in it?
No.
And if the answer is no, then you should be feeling the same way about aiming it and pointing it at anyone else on that set, too, which would have prevented this from happening.
That's a really good point. My big question is, where does Hollywood get its firearm paraphernalia? Where are they getting the guns? Where are they getting the ammo? Where are they getting all of this? Isn't there one central place that they can get it where it's not live?
There's different companies that they'll hire that are armorers and that provide this stuff for shows. They were talking, it seems like there was the confusion on this whole thing was they had some live rounds that were being used on the set of 1854 or whatever it is, the Tim McGraw prequel to Yellowstone. And then, they get hired for this one. So it's a lot of the same stuff that comes over. And somewhere along that mix, somehow live rounds got introduced into the non-live rounds. I don't think anybody intentionally tried to do this or hurt anybody, but it was certainly something that could have been prevented had there been a little bit more oversight or better planning or thinking of this so that this didn't end up the way it did.
It's just a cautionary tale now. If you're ever acting and a gun is placed in your hand, you have an obligation to check it before you aim it anywhere.
Yeah.
Before you pull the trigger. And him saying he didn't pull the trigger, well, somebody did. Well, and who did it?
They're arguing that the gun was designed to go off. Like, nobody's fucking designing the gun to go off easier. Like, that's insane. Is it a shitty weapon? Like, is it not in the greatest condition because maybe it's been used 1,000 times? Sure, that seems more probable than somebody purposely designed it to fire accidentally. I don't think that makes any sense at all for an argument. But no. I think at the end of the day, what that argument is they're trying to say is that he did not pull the trigger. So if he didn't pull the trigger, he can't be liable. But he was working on the scene. He would have pulled the trigger if he didn't pull the trigger. That's what they would have done. He didn't check the rounds to make sure that they weren't real. So either way, he was pointing it around, and that's the whole point of gun safety. You don't point it at anybody that you don't intend to kill or shoot. So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of things that went horribly wrong here and ended up with someone dying. But I don't know. Is it something that someone should fry for and have every aspect of their life judged on because of that? Probably not. Probably not. I think it's one of those things you just kind of have to, as difficult as it would be if you were in the situation of that's your loved one, Just understand, this is the consequences or the possible consequences and the hazards of working in a job like that, where this sort of thing could possibly happen. But that's where you need more protocols in place to prevent such a thing. And I think everyone was relying on everybody to be doing that correctly. And there was little room for any sort of missteps. And that's the scary part with that is a small misstep can turn into a very big consequence.
Yeah, I mean, there's a dead person and an injured person, and now so many lives have been changed just because of some negligence. And it's, if you've got anything that resembles a gun, you do have an obligation to take care of it and treat it as though it's live, That's the thing that seems to be missing. There was a lot of playing fast and loose, I think, with those rules, and this was the consequence.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.